Welcome to Infidelity Love, the home of deep, emotional, and truth-filled stories that will stir your heart, challenge your mind, and keep you coming back for more. Here, we tell the real side of love, not just the happy endings, but the broken promises, the silent tears, the guilt, the betrayal, and the lessons that follow. If you've ever been hurt, loved the wrong person, or carried a secret too heavy to tell, you're not alone. These stories will speak to your soul. Subscribe now, turn on the bell, and join a growing community where every story has a lesson and every heart has a voice. Because at Infidelity Love, we don't just tell stories, we reveal truths.
The sun was bright in the small town of Willow Creek. The birds sang sweet songs on the tall trees, and children laughed as they played near the river. In this peaceful town lived a young man named Eli. He was kind, quiet, and always wore a soft smile. Eli lived in a small wooden house at the edge of town. The roof had holes, and the floor made little creaky sounds when he walked. But it was home, and Eli loved it. Eli worked as a shoe repair boy. His hands were always busy with old shoes, cleaning them, sewing the torn parts, and polishing them till they looked new. People liked Eli because he was honest and never overcharged anyone, even when he had no money for food. He had a small dog named Toby, who wagged his tail happily each time Eli came home. Eli didn't have much, but he had a big heart. One sunny morning, Eli stood outside his house, fixing the laces of an old boot. That was when he saw her, Layla. She was the prettiest girl in town. Her long black hair blew gently in the wind, and her smile was like the morning light. Layla came from a rich family. She wore shiny shoes, clean dresses, and carried a small bag that sparkled in the sun. Layla waved at Eli. "Good morning," she said cheerfully. Eli smiled shyly. "Good morning, Layla." They had been friends since they were kids. Layla would always stop by his little shop to say hello or give him extra laces she didn't need. Even though they were from different worlds, they talked like they belonged together. Eli had strong feelings for Layla, but he never said anything. He was just a poor boy with patched-up pants. He thought, why would someone like her love someone like me? But today felt different. Layla sat on a wooden bench beside Eli. She watched him work and asked, "Do you ever get tired of fixing shoes?" Eli shook his head. "Number I like helping people walk again." Layla giggled. That's a sweet way to say it. Eli looked into her eyes. His heart was beating fast. He wanted to tell her how he felt. But just then, a fancy car rolled down the street. It was big and shiny with black windows and golden wheels. The car stopped in front of them. Out stepped a tall man wearing a grey suit and shiny black shoes. His name was Damien. He had just moved into town. Everyone talked about him. He owned many businesses and drove the best cars. He was rich, smooth, and always carried a fancy smile. Layla stood up quickly. Her eyes lit up. "That's Damien. He's the one I told you about," she whispered. Eli's smile faded just a little. Damien walked over and kissed Layla's hand. "Hello, beautiful," he said. "Are you ready for our lunch date?" Layla nodded and looked at Eli. "I'll see you later," she said kindly. Eli waved. "Have fun." As the car drove away, Eli sat back down and stared at the boot he had been fixing. His hands worked, but his mind felt heavy. He looked at Toby, who tilted his head like he was asking, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, buddy," Eli whispered. "She's free to choose." But his heart was not fine. It had started to feel something he couldn't explain. And that was just the beginning. The next day came slowly for Eli. The sun peeked into his window, but it didn't feel warm like before. His little house was quiet. Even Toby didn't bark as much. Eli dressed in his cleanest shirt and brushed his hair the best he could. He wanted to feel good, but something inside him was heavy. Outside, the town was busy. Birds flew around and people filled the streets, but all Eli could see was the image of Layla sitting next to Damien in that fancy black car. She had looked happy. She had laughed. Eli sat in his small shop beside his wooden table. A few shoes lay there, waiting to be repaired, but Eli's hands didn't move. His mind was far away. Toby rested his head on Eli's feet, looking up at him with big, round eyes. Eli gave a sad smile and rubbed his furry head. "I'm still her friend, right, Toby?" he whispered, "even if she likes someone else." That afternoon, a group of people passed by Eli's shop. They were laughing and taking pictures. Damien and Layla were in the middle, dressed in fancy clothes. Damien wore a blue suit and dark sunglasses. Layla wore a red dress that sparkled like stars. They looked like a prince and princess in a fairy tale. "Layla," Eli called softly, raising his hand. Layla turned and smiled. She walked over quickly. "Hi, Eli," she said gently. "How's your day?" "It's okay," Eli said, standing up. He dusted his pants and looked at her. "You look very happy." Layla nodded. "Damien took me to the city today. We went shopping and ate ice cream in a tall restaurant. It was beautiful." Eli smiled, but his heart hurt. "I'm glad you're having fun." Layla paused for a second. Her eyes softened. "You've always been good to me, Eli. I hope you know that." Eli wanted to say more. He wanted to say, "Layla, I love you." But his mouth stayed shut. His eyes fell to the ground. "That means a lot," he whispered. Damien called out from behind, "Layla, we're taking more pictures." She waved back. "Coming." Then she looked at Eli one last time. "I'll come by tomorrow," she said, "just to talk." Eli nodded. "I'll be here." As Layla walked back to the crowd, Damien threw a quick look at Eli. It was not friendly. It was the kind of look that said, "I know you're just the poor friend." Then he wrapped his arm around Layla and smiled for the cameras. That night, Eli sat outside his house with Toby curled at his feet. The stars twinkled above, but they didn't feel magical. Eli looked up and whispered, "Why do good hearts get left behind?" His house creaked in the wind, and the moon lit the wooden floor. Eli felt like the world had grown too big for someone like him. But deep down, a small voice in his heart still said, "Don't give up yet." And so, he didn't. Morning came with soft clouds floating over Willow Creek. Eli woke up early, even before the birds began to sing. He sat on the edge of his bed, looking out the window. The sky was grey, and the air felt quiet. His little home smelled like old wood and fresh grass. Toby wagged his tail, ready for the day, but Eli just sat there, deep in thought. He was thinking about Layla. She said she would come by today just to talk. Those words kept dancing in his mind. Just to talk. Eli cleaned his small shop like never before. He swept the floor, washed the table, and even used his last piece of soap to clean his hands and face. He looked into the mirror and tried to smile. His heart beat faster. He didn't know what Layla would say, but he wanted to look his best. By noon, the sun peeked through the clouds. People passed by his shop, but Eli didn't see them. He was looking down the street, waiting. And then, she came. Layla wore a simple yellow dress and flat shoes. Her long hair was tied in a soft ponytail. She looked different today, not like the girl in red from yesterday. She looked like the Layla he used to know. "Hi, Eli," she said softly. Eli stood up fast. "Hi, Layla, I cleaned the bench if you want to sit." She smiled and sat down. "Thanks." For a while they sat in silence. The wind moved the trees and birds flew low over the roofs. It felt peaceful, but something hung in the air, something heavy and unsaid. Layla looked at him. "I miss talking to you like this," she said. Eli blinked. "You do?" "Yes. Damien is nice. He takes me to fun places, buys me things. But sometimes I feel lost." Eli didn't know what to say. His heart beat like a drum. Layla looked around his small shop. "This place is tiny, but it feels warm. Safe." Eli gave a soft laugh. "It's not much, but it's mine." She looked at him. "That's what I mean. You have something money can't buy. You have peace. You have truth." Eli looked down at his hands, rough from years of work. "But I don't have anything to offer you." Layla touched his hand lightly. "That's not true." Just then, the loud sound of a car engine broke the moment. Damien's black car pulled up again. He stepped out, wearing another fine suit and shiny shoes. His face was tight with pride. "There you are," he said, walking to Layla. "I've been waiting. You didn't answer your phone." Layla stood up quickly. "I turned it off." Damien looked at Eli and then at her. "Are you really wasting your time here?" Eli felt the words like a punch in the stomach, but he stayed silent. Layla looked down. "I just wanted to talk to my friend." Damien laughed. This is not friendship. This is charity." Eli clenched his fists, but said nothing. Layla's face changed. Something inside her turned cold. "Don't talk like that, Damien." Damien shook his head. "Fine. Let's go." Layla looked at Eli. Her eyes were full of sadness. "I'll come back." "I promise." Eli nodded, even though his heart wanted to scream, "Don't go." As the car drove away, Eli sat back down. His chest felt tight, but his heart whispered something else now. Not pain, not anger, hope. He didn't have gold or shiny shoes. But maybe, just maybe, his heart still mattered. Layla sat quietly in the back seat of Damien's shiny black car. The city lights danced on the windows and the streets buzzed with people and music, but inside her heart, there was no music. Only silence. Damien drove with one hand on the wheel and the other holding his phone. He wasn't talking to her. He was smiling at someone else on the screen. Some fancy business talk she didn't understand. Layla looked out the window. Everything outside was fast and bright. But it didn't feel real anymore. She remembered Eli's shop, small, warm, and quiet. She remembered his eyes. The way he looked at her like she mattered more than diamonds. She missed that look. When they got home, Damien opened the door to a big apartment with glass walls and floors that sparkled, but it felt cold. Everything looked perfect, but it didn't feel like home. "I'm going out with the boys later," Damien said, tossing his keys on the counter. "You can order something if you're hungry." Layla walked to the kitchen. "You just got back. Can't we talk?" "About what?" Damien asked without turning. "You've been acting strange lately." Layla swallowed hard. "I just want to know if we are okay." Damien laughed. "You're asking now, after sneaking off to that shoemaker's shop like a schoolgirl?" She frowned. "Eli is my friend. He's always been there for me." Damien leaned on the counter and looked at her, his eyes sharp. "He's poor, Layla. You think love will feed you? You think loyalty will buy you a dress?" Tears filled Layla's eyes, but she held them back. "Sometimes, I think peace matters more than diamonds." Damien scoffed. "Go live in a hut, then." He grabbed his jacket and walked out, slamming the door behind him. The sound echoed through the apartment like thunder. Layla stood in the middle of the shining room, her reflection staring back at her in every glass surface. She felt small, lost, and alone. She walked slowly to the window and looked out. The stars were hidden behind the city lights, but she imagined them up there, quiet and calm, like Eli's eyes. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "What did I choose?" she whispered. Eli sat by his wooden table, fixing a small pair of worn-out sandals. It was late, but he couldn't sleep. His heart was still thinking of Layla. Toby was asleep under the table. The radio played soft music in the background. The warm light from his small lamp made shadows on the walls. Eli looked at a little picture on the shelf. It was of him and Layla, taken years ago when they were just kids. They had smiles so big and eyes full of dreams. "I miss you," he whispered. He didn't know what Layla was going through, but deep in his heart, he knew something was breaking inside her. And he wished, more than anything, that she would find her way back, not just to him but to herself. He put the sandals aside and stood up. He stepped outside, looking at the moon above the trees. The wind brushed his face and the stars finally peeked through the clouds. He closed his eyes and prayed, "If she needs me, I'll be here. Always." The next morning, the sun rose over Willow Creek like a quiet promise. The town smelled of fresh bread, rain-drenched earth, and morning hope. Eli opened his shop early, even though he hadn't slept much. Something in his heart told him today would be different. Meanwhile, in the city, Layla stood in front of the mirror in Damien's apartment. Her eyes were puffy, her hair was messy, and her heart, broken in places even she couldn't see. Last night, after Damien left, she cried until her pillow was wet. She looked around the big, beautiful home and realized something. She had everything, but she felt like she had nothing. No joy, no warmth, no Eli. She packed a small bag, just a few clothes. She didn't want the heels, the gold jewelry, or the fancy perfume. She wanted to feel real again. Layla took the first bus out of the city. Hours later, Eli was helping a little girl tie her sandals when he heard the sound of a car stopping just outside his shop. He looked up and froze. Layla stood there. She wore simple jeans and a plain shirt. Her eyes were red from crying, but her smile, soft and shy, was the most beautiful thing he had seen in a long time. Eli stood slowly. "Layla, I left," she said gently. "I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't stay in a place where I didn't belong." Eli didn't speak. He just looked at her. His heart raced, but his face stayed calm. "I chose wrong, Eli," she whispered, tears slipping down again. "I thought money could build love, but I forgot that love is built with truth, not things." She stepped closer. "If you still care, if there's still a place for me." Eli wiped his hands on a cloth, walked over and opened his arms. She walked into them without hesitation. It wasn't a kiss. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was a moment of truth, soft and honest. Toby barked and wagged his tail, running in circles around them. Eli smiled. "There's always a place for you, not just in my shop, but in my heart." Layla rested her head on his chest, breathing in the scent of wood and leather and safety. The kind of scent no rich man could buy. Moral lesson. In life, we often chase the brightest lights, forgetting that true love glows quietly in the corners we leave behind. Wealth can fill a house, but only loyalty and truth can fill a heart. Choose the one who stays, not the one who shines. Because the richest person is not the one with everything, but the one with someone who truly sees them.
Thank you so much for being part of the Infidelity Love family. Your love, support, likes, comments, and shares mean the world to us. Every view you give, every word you write, helps us continue telling deep, emotional stories that matter, stories that heal, teach, and touch the soul. We don't take your support for granted. Whether you're here for the drama, the lessons, or the healing, just know this: you are seen, valued, and appreciated. Let's keep growing, learning, and feeling together. From all of us at Infidelity Love, thank you from the bottom of our heart.